Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Our Stony Acres. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Glad to have you here. Please make sure you subscribe, and when you do that, make sure you click that notification bell so that you get notice every time I release a new video. All right, so we are continuing our planting guide videos as I promised. We're going to do one for every month of the year, and this particular video is for those of you that live in zones 5 and 6. Okay, so we're going to talk about what we can plant in April in zones 5 and 6. And this is the fun month for me, I think. We live in zone 6B, and there's a lot of stuff that can be happening in your garden this month. Not time really for warm season crops yet, but it's really time for us to start thinking about our cool season crops. So if you live in zone 6, you're going to be planting what we're mentioning here today. You'll be planting those early in the month. If you live in zone 5, we're looking at a little bit later in the month for you guys. But remember, frost date is your important date, and we ought to be, you know, somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks away from your last frost date in zones 5 and 6 right now. And so a lot of stuff can be going in. All of the cool season crops can be planted now in this zone. Okay, so before we start with some of the stuff that we can plant outdoors, let's talk about a few things that you can be planting indoors. So these would be starts that you could be getting in indoors. And you're kind of, we're getting a little late for indoor starting with some of the longer growing ones, so like tomatoes and peppers. If you're still 6 weeks away from your last frost date, then you're probably okay to still plant tomatoes and peppers indoors. Any closer than that, you might want to actually buy some from a nursery because they're probably not going to be ready to go out in time. But again, peppers and tomatoes are definitely on the list. You can be starting lettuce indoors, any of your Asian greens, Swiss chard, celery, anything like that, you can be starting indoors. It's probably a little bit too soon to think about warm season crops other than tomatoes and peppers. So things like squashes, melons, you really only want to have those indoors for about 3 weeks, and so really you're going to base that on when your last frost date is. So if your last frost date happens to be the 1st of May, then you might be able to get some of those started indoors. But if it's later into May like ours is until May 15th, April's a little bit too early to think about those warm season, you know, squash family crops. So that's some of the things you can be planting indoors. Now let's talk about outdoors. There are a lot of things that we can be planting outdoors by seed in both zones 5 and 6 right now. And so just a ton of stuff. Lettuce, arugula, beets, radishes, carrots, turnips, parsnips, spinach, peas, Swiss chard, Asian greens, kale, and even potatoes. Now, I will warn you on potatoes, if you're going to plant some potatoes in April, I would say it would be a good idea if you planned on having something to protect them with. Potatoes are frost sensitive. They're not completely destroyed by frost, but they're fairly frost sensitive. So if you're going to plant them this early, then I would recommend that maybe you cover them up if you've got a night where it's going to be frosty. So either with a cold frame, hoop house, fabric row cover, even a sheet, something like that would be a good idea to help keep that frost off on potatoes. Okay. Also, if we're getting pretty close to that last frost date, you might even be able to sneak some sweet potatoes in. But again, those are very frost sensitive, so you need to make sure that you cover and plan on protecting those. Okay. And then outdoors by transplant, we have even more. So these would be planting fully grown transplants out into the garden. So things like onions, definitely get those in early, especially in zone 6. Zone 5 people, you may have a little bit more time to get your onions in. Zone 6, get them in right away. Lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard, Asian greens, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, all of your berry plants. So if you're planning on putting strawberries in, or raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, all of those plants are hardy enough that they'll be able to handle some frost, and so now would be the time to get those in as well. And then if you're planning on using some type of protection, like with a wall of water, then you could be planting things like peppers and tomatoes as well during the month of April. And I like to put those in about 4 weeks before my last frost date in a wall of water. and that will keep them protected, and it gives them about a 4-week head start, so you can get some tomatoes a little bit earlier than you might be expecting. So that's kind of all the list. A lot of things, a lot of stuff going on, and next month as we move into May, then we'll really move into those warm season crops where we'll be able to be planting our cucumbers and our melons and all that kind of stuff. So lots of fun stuff. I love April. Great month. Lots of things happening in the garden. So get out there and get going, because it's a lot of fun. Okay, all right, hopefully this video helped you guys out, and again, this is in the next in a series of videos. We'll do a May video coming up as well, so make sure you watch out for that. And if you happen to not live in zones 5 and 6, look down below. I've got videos linked out to all of the different zones from 3 all the way up until 10. So those are down in the description below. Okay, that's all I have for you. Please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and make sure you click that subscribe button so that you know every time I release new videos, which is several times a month. Okay, everybody have a great week. Happy gardening.